Well, the first question I wanted to ask is I'm quite interested in that thing you said at the start, which was that, where you said the this story cannot be false because it's your story. So it's a way like this kind of documentaries in which you're actually telling the story, a story that's quite personal to you as well, and you're telling the story of a whole neighborhood, like a whole community throughout the fragments of many people, but your own as well. So I just wanted to ask you first why you chose to tell this story, which also touches, I guess, like your personal side, and how does this, personal side of the story comes into play. How how did the making of the film also touched in your own experience of the neighborhood, in your own memories?
Okay. Well, Valeria is going to be assisting us. Why? Because, okay, we're going to, no, I understood, but I just wanted to introduce her. That is the interpreter. She's going to do this quite a kind of a way of interpreting that is like standby. So it's, yes, I'm going to talk if someone doesn't understand what I'm saying, so she's going to help us, and in the other way around. So, first of all, this film has a very, it has been done during many years, and the starting point was that that I wanted to make a feature film, like a fiction feature film, because I moved to Berlin. I was living in Sevilla, and I went there to study experimental film. Then I applied for a program that was in Budapest, and it was about screenwriting. And it was to write a fiction film, and I started to write, and everything that came to my mind, because I was abroad, and I was started to understand things from my own country. Having this point of view of being abroad, and then I started to wonder things and realizing things that I haven't realized before about religion, about the place I was born, the place I spent all my life. That was this neighborhood, and things around this neighborhood that I never thought or realized that it was. I even didn't know how I thought about what idea I have about prostitution, and I was all my life surrounded by prostitution, and because it was so natural, I never wondered about what opinion I had, if I was against or if I was for, or I was asking myself all those questions, and I didn't have any answer. So I started to try to make this fiction about all those things that I didn't understand about my life and about my identity and everything. I didn't even know what identity was. So it was a confusion that and then while writing this fiction, I made myself all these questions, and I didn't have the answer and everything. Then I finally ended up making a script, and this script with sort of answers that I made in the fictions or whatever. I know it was a kind of. Finally, I got the funding years later for this fiction film, but then the producer that was her first film as well got kind of scared, and she didn't want to accept the money because it wasn't enough to finish it, and she was scared that she couldn't justify the supporting from the government and everything. So finally she panicked and she went back to her country, and we couldn't do the film. So then I was that angry that after 6 years of working on it, I couldn't do it, that I said I have to do it somehow. So because all the people that I was inspired to make the fiction was real people, was people I met, and it was all these people that appears in this film. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna go back to the origins. That was the people that inspired the fiction. So okay, so then I didn't have any money. It was this year with the 2008, when that all the crisis of the subprimes mortgages and everything, and we didn't have any money. There were no supports from the government, whatever. So we started. It was 2 years later, like or 3 or 4, when all the crisis started that we started to realize that there were no money or whatever. So then I started to go around the Alameda and interviewing people and shooting and asking them, because also I didn't know how to approach people. So I always thought, and I thought that and I wanted to indagar, like to go deep into this idea of identity. So I thought, okay, I went to talk to this anthropologist that appears in the film, that lives in Alameda. She was the first group of people that were not afraid to live there and bought very cheap houses. So she was the first one. She was living in this square where all the prostitution still is. So there's still in the center of the city, that is completely gentrified and touristified and everything. Still, these people working on prostitution. I mean, there's brothels. So then she lives in that square, in that place. So talking to her about the identity idea and everything, I thought that identity is important to know about your childhood. So I started to talk to people from asking them about their childhood. So this is the part that appears with the animation. So then it served to me to start talking about more difficult matters that I wasn't really I didn't know how to approach, how to ask people about prostitution, whether they have been working on prostitution, or also other way that I tried to went around, because I was so scared to ask them about prostitution. Actually, most of them didn't want to talk about it and didn't want to be recorded and everything. So it was around the idea. I mean, my excuse to go to talk to them, it was like they wanted to talk about how the neighborhood has changed, because everybody wanted to talk about that. So around that idea, I went to the point that at first I was more interested on, that was the prostitution. So, okay, all my worries and all my questions and everything, I put them together, going around and around during years and years, talking to people. So it's a kind of mix, a crazy mix that wasn't really, it wasn't really on purpose that I wanted to mix this collage. But in the meanwhile, Agnes Barda came to the city, and then while interviewing her, because it was this group of people that belongs to an association that is AMMA, that is women in doing film, like something like that in our city, because we were very few of us, and we decided to join and to try to work together. Then she came to the city and we made her this interview, and she said that she says that she's not interested on fiction. I was already working on this film for a few years already, and that's collage that we put together, and I said, yeah, why not? Collage putting together with all these things that I have. I have animation, I have interviews, I have the film of these filmmakers from Sevilla, that is the black and white images. It's a very well-known experimental filmmaker, that is Juan Sebastián Boyain, and I talked to him, and he said, okay, you can use my film as well. So I had all this mix, so I decided to to do what she says, to make this collage of. So it was coming of things. I mean, I didn't have this idea from the beginning, but because of these all things that I just said, it was taking form.
Yeah, it sounds like it was about like an exploration throughout the making of the film. Maybe of your own identity. Of the identity.
Also, yes, I put myself into it because I don't know, because I was part of the story. These people I knew, so I didn't want to show only them, putting me apart because it was this guy. I know him since the boy that was one of the neighbors. And he was evicted from the neighborhood because of these speculation programs and things. So I didn't want to say, okay, you, I don't know, I wanted to be with him. I didn't want to expose him, you know. It's kind of, I wanted to acompañarlo.
Be with him?
Be with him. Like inside and also the poet is a very good friend of mine. I was, well, he died while the shooting, but that's why the poem he wrote is I wanted him to play, because he is a musician as well. I wanted him to play the poem with me. His band, but he died, so my band played his poem in the film. So. And then because I didn't know how to put all these things together that I had, that it was too much material, and I don't know which form give it to it, and I tried to do it in a linear way and I couldn't. Then we did a kind of performance in the area, in the Alameda, that in which it was in the Sevillian Film Festival, and then people were going with watching the film, little parts of the films, through that were estaban alojadas en YouTube.
They were uploaded in
YouTube. It was all the pieces were uploaded in YouTube, so you could scan a code that were around the area, and with a guide that was the woman, little parts that we see in which the woman, one of the main characters, is leading people through space. So it was part of this performance we made. So finally I could find, because I had to divide this in chapters to do the performance around the area. So then I found a linear way to show it. After years trying, I couldn't find the linear way, and after making the performance, chapter 1, chapter this is about this, it's about that, this is about that, and then I found it, and then I made the film. 2 years later, or year.
That's beautiful. I've got many other questions, but I also just want you to maybe have the opportunity to ask Rocío things. So I'll just pass it on to you. If there's anyone who wants to ask something or just comment on something about the film.
Well, first of all, because there are different matters in the film, but there is one that is this gentrification and there are people here in the room right now that are experts on this matter. So if you ask me, I don't know that much, but they can answer, right? About what the problem of gentrification, where does it come from? Because there were people asking me about that last night, and I'm not an expert. I have done this with my experience, but things I know, and now I know about it. For instance, in this performance we did about the area, it always ended up with a mesa redonda. Round table. A round table with experts in the matters. One day was about the matter of gentrification and everything, and I invited Maria Barrero, that is here, and she's here with two. Okay, can I have the name? With Hamish
Very good.
Lillian and Meg Bishop, and they are working at the university on all this. So okay, so if someone wants to know the origins of and the solutions, I don't know, but they do. Okay, now anyway.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Christy, have you got any questions for the experts?
Well, first of all, congratulations. I really loved it, and thank you, because I've been having 2 ideas for a long time for 2 different documentaries, and by watching it, I kind of like got the 2 of them together, and I'm gonna turn them into one.
I'm glad.
Anyway, as you said, like your approach was when you talked with everyone was about how the neighborhood changed.
Yes, that was the first approach, and then
Right. This is definitely very personal. It's about a very like a single community that has a lot to be said about. And to me, I believe, like, it's very empowering for everyone that is portrayed in film, and it's very dignifying. But not always people see it that way when they watch themselves, right? If you approach them about how it changed, what was their reaction to the film itself? Because, like, in the end, you're more talking about how it used to be than the changes itself, right? So how did they see it?
But you mean like how did they see it? Because I was kind of lying, like asking them about. Oh no. Okay.
No, because you said that you approached them.
Yes.
With the intent of doing a film about how the neighborhood changed, how it became better.
Yeah,
But in the film, it's very much so about the past, the history of the neighborhood, right? So how did they see it in the end? Like, how did they feel about it?
Yeah, actually, most of them, well, all of them, I believe, they said, and they for instance, the guy that was evicted was very proud of the film. I mean, because he thinks that reflects that. I mean, because it talks about his beloved neighborhood that he misses very much, because he can't go there often because he lives so far away in a place very empobrecido. I was gonna say poor, but not. But no hay otra palabra que no sea poor.
Impoverished.
Impoverished. And when he came to the premiere that it was in that neighborhood in Alameda, and he was so touched. And then he talked. He wanted to talk a lot about his neighborhood and everything. Deborah, that she lives there too, and still have in this square in which there is still prostitution. She's so proud too, and brought all the friends, and she saw it first, and then the only people that were not very happy were people of my family that I was kind of scared too about it. My mother. My sister, she said she was so angry because she said that in my house there was music. That I didn't live in a house in which there weren't music. But she is younger, so I brought the music to the house. But my mother was kind of, she didn't know. My father never saw it, so I haven't seen it. So I mean, I was scared, but. He didn't give a fuck, so. And then, I don't know, and the others, the actor, that is a very good, all of them are friends of mine. The actor, he said he was, pena, le daba pena? Okay, kind of,
Sad.
because he thought that he could have taught more, que podría haberse involucrado más.
That he could have gotten involved more.
Because he thought that he went so superficially through the matters, and that he knows very much about the deepest things and drugs and everything. And the only people I couldn't find, because no one could find to watch the film, it was the people that was squatting in that years, because all these nets that of support that was in the Alameda in that period in which many people were running without the houses and everything. It was because at the Alameda also there is this activism, not only music and okay, this mix of many activities that they were going through, but also that it was a very movimiento activista, social movements. All right, it's very strong social movement. So even people that were running this program of escorting houses for people that lost their houses during this crisis of subprime mortgage, they didn't know how to find them. No one no one knew where they were to show them the film. The three women that are escorting, they couldn't find them to show it. And I don't remember any more people. I think, but in general, they were proud and they enjoyed the film.
That's good to hear.
I have a thing. Thank you so much for this. I really loved it. It's really appealing for me because I also go around the Alameda quite a lot. I found really interesting and really good decision on the technical side of the film, the overexposure and the handheld camera. I found those techniques really coherent with the whole feeling of the Alameda, and it's also a way this is really nice for me, like, personally, because it goes very in the line that I like in filmmaking as an audience, as someone who wants to make film in the future. Maybe you could talk about that decision a bit, and
actually
why you feel that it's more effective than
this decision came because, well, actually I was always interested in experimental film. I studied that in Germany, and I was it's the thing that I like the most, but I didn't want to use it for no reason. But in this film, because it goes, the big matter is about economic violence, and it was the thing that I wanted to, because all the matters that are around, even like and even Agnès Varda, when she talks about how she can't find the money to make the films, and I lost the money to make the films that I wanted to do, and all the things are connected, like speculation and prostitution and all this economical violence and the precarity that the musicians and the poets and the people, all kind of even wherever you look, you see economic violence. So when you shoot with cameras now, you can make a film looks very professional, even with no money. But I wanted to show that too as well. So I took these shots that were by accident, on purpose, and especially in this when Deborah is telling all this about the mafias that are exploiting people, and then it was where I put it on purpose, like all the floors and the ceilings, and to increase this feeling of precarity and poverty, and that was.
I loved it. It was great.
You wanted to say that?
Yeah, actually my question is, it's the other side of this question, because when I look at the film, because I'm an outsider, I've never been to the area, and I saw very little exterior shots. I remember there was just this one game, and he's walking on the streets, and you showed a shot of the street. And I wonder, is it because the neighborhood is actually very small, or it is more like a deliberate choice of cinematography to focus on the people?
I get that. The last part.
Que se pregunta si lo hiciste porque el barrio es muy pequeño, entonces querías enfocarte más en las personas, que solamente vio una escena donde se grababa afuera.
Yeah. I think because I think must be, I'm not really sure about the answer, right? So, but I'm going to think about it now. But it wasn't really on purpose, but it's true that because I was looking this identity of like a, ¿cómo se dice? Identidad colectiva. Collective identity. I was looking for this collective identity. It's true that I never really wanted to portray the neighborhood. That's true. It was a decision. It's not about the Alameda. It's like something that happens in the Alameda, but that happens in many places in the world, and that is happening in many places. The same character that you have to help me about it, but it happens as I have seen, as I have seen in other cities. It always come together, like prostitution and speculation in the center, and musicians and artists and everything. I have seen it in many places. I don't know why. You will tell why. So it's true that I wasn't it really much to be about this neighborhood, but it's in this neighborhood that I know, see, the one that I grew up. So, but also now that I believe that I think about it, it must be also because for me I didn't have a big equipment or cameras or people. I mean, just went. I'm going to shoot one day, and then when we come another day with people that come with me. Sometimes I was shooting myself with the camera, and friend comes with the sound, and so I didn't have a big plan of. And I had exteriors actually. We went a few, but it was the Alameda how it is like now. That is. I don't know. Finally, I didn't like that much the material I had, and I couldn't find how to put it, and so I just didn't show it. I don't know, but it's true. It's true. It's a mix of not wanting to talk only about this neighborhood, but also that I didn't have material that I like. So that's why. I don't know.
Thank you.
Hi. Well, first of all, I would like to say that I really like the movie. I was very moved in some parts, and especially that's why I wanted to ask. I noticed that you interview a lot of people, but that's what I believe, that you focus also a lot more on women, because I guess obviously in poverty, women in Indian are always the most vulnerable in every situation, and especially in poverty. I don't know if that was a decision you made, like you wanted to focus more on women, or...
Yeah, because I was so angry.
Yeah, right.
And also it was at the beginning, and at first, I mean, I was so angry because my producer was a woman, a friend of mine, that she was suffering to a kind of precarity. I mean, we got a lot of money from the government, like 350,000 to make the other film, but she didn't even have the money to pay her rent every month, you know. So, and you're not gonna get that money so soon. So you maybe will get a part in half a year, and then this other little part, and maybe if you justify well all the expenses, then probably they give you the other part. So it's not easy. So she was scared. I mean, I wasn't really angry on her. I was angry about, you know, how couldn't work. We can't work. We can't do the films we want or whatever. finally I'm glad, because the other film I don't think I would like now, the one that I wanted to make. No, I don't think after all this journey that it was so long that I learned that much. I don't agree with the other vision I had in the beginning. So now I'm glad. But at first I was so angry, and also it was the beginning with these old women. We made the association because we didn't have any chance at all. I mean, it was before the 2018. We must say, because it's a bit different now. And we were, I mean, yeah, I wanted it to be about how precarity is for all of us, and how affect especially women with this part of prostitution, that is this thing that, oh, okay, but you always have something that you can sell, that you hear in the films, always, and you know, and you hear in the street, and you. So it was a decision of purpose made, like, you know, to try to research about if there's more solidarity. I don't know, in between women. I wanted to research about it, and there are people talking about it in different ways as well. Yeah, it was one of my worries, and one of the things I was wondering about all this. And I know that, you know, that affects, and I believe in la feminización de la pobreza. That's how la pobreza está feminizada.
Poverty affects women.
I think that it is working that way.
Okay, let's maybe have the last question. I think this question over there.
Yes. You told that you work a lot at different years in this movie. You looking for the first in your identity, or you just have a different idea at the first and then the identity coming?
Yeah, it's second part. I was really focused on prostitution. I was so worried about what I thought about prostitution.
Yeah.
And then all the things came later, like speculation, like and identity, everything that were coming through. I was researching the other thing. Came all these questions.